his dormant transcendental knowledge. Now, we actually have transcendental knowledge in our heart. It's dormant. We have to activate it. How do we activate it? It's just like fire is dormant in a piece of wood, but it has to be activated. So if you put the wood next to the fire, eventually it'll catch fire because it has inherent fire in it. And the same way, we have transcendental knowledge in our heart. We don't realize it, but it's there. And if you regularly hear the messages of Krishna from Bhagavad Gita and about Krishna from Srimad Bhagavatam, then that'll ignite that fire of knowledge. And this is explained in Bhagavad Gita, where it says, Jana agni dagdakarmanam tamahu pandita buddhe. It's in the fourth chapter, Bhagavad Gita, where it says, Yasya sarve samaramba kama sankalpas varjita jana agni dagdakarmanam tamahu pandita buddhe. Fourth chapter, 19th verse, Bhagavad Gita. And it says that one is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So, we want to light that fire of perfect knowledge, which is in our heart. That's what is being said in this verse that we're studying today. Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best-wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. Dormant means it's sleeping. Just like right now, there are probably a whole bunch of devotees that are sleeping. So they're not hearing anything, right? But what is their duty? What is their duty if they're initiated? They should be here, awake, having taken a bath, have tilak on, having already seen the arti in the morning, and they should be listening avidly, with eagerness to the Krishna's words. But instead, they're sleeping. So this is why people don't go back to Godhead in one lifetime, because they're sleeping. There was a man who was a good person, he was pious, but he was inattentive. So because he was a good person, he was elevated right to the door of Vaikuntha. But when he got there, the door was closed. And he was told, just be patient, it'll open up. So he was trying to be patient, but because his bad habit was inattention, he was dozing off and thinking and dreaming about nonsense, Disneyland or something. And he heard something, bang! And he opened his eyes and he saw the doors close. In other words, because of his inattention, the doors opened and then they closed. So he had to wait again. Now, when you wait in the doors of Vaikuntha, it can be a long time, right? And then again he was waiting. Again, he had his bad habit of being inattentive. And at one point he dozed off and he was dreaming, again, nonsense, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. And again, he got woken up by this sharp sound. The doors had opened, but then because of his inattention, he missed it, and he saw them close again. So he's still there. He's still there because of his inattention. He got up right to the door of Vaikuntha, but he can't get in because he's inattentive. So unless we train ourselves to follow the regulative principles seriously, and we train ourselves to perform the basic functions, waking up early, taking a bath, coming to Mangal Arati, at least on the weekends when there's no work, right? And also chanting one's rounds, and then listening very carefully to the class. We'll be like that man. We'll make it right to the door of Vaikuntha, but we'll never get in because we don't have that attentiveness. And you develop that attentiveness by learning to hear, Shravanam. Just like Maharaj Parikshit was very interested to hear, so interested he stopped eating and stopped sleeping for 7 days and 7 nights. Because he knew that he was going to die in 7 days and 7 nights. So maybe that's what we need. Maybe we should go to the doctor and he does an annual checkup and says, oh, you only have 7 days to live. You have cancer all over your body. What would you do, Prabhu? Would you go to work the next day? You say, it would change your life, right? But actually, we don't know if we're going to live 7 days, right? You can walk out the door. Actually, what recently happened in Rome, in the Catholic Church, the Pope, who's a total idiot, he said, the present Pope, a complete idiot guy, he said that there's no hell. And for 2,000 years, the Catholic Church has been preaching there's hell, right? He said there's no hell. And what happened? The day he said that, the ceiling started falling out of the main chapel, the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican, you know, and some of the pilgrims got hit by it, you know, and injured, right? So that's a sign, right, that the Catholic God is not happy with the Pope, because it's never happened before. It's ceiling falling down, right? And it's never happened before that a Pope has said there's no hell. In other words, people say, well, wait a minute, why did Jesus die on the cross? He died on the cross to save people from going to hell, right? If you say there's no hell, then why did Jesus die on the cross? You know, why was he crucified? Anyway, this is 2018. All nonsense things are happening. There is. They're shocked. They don't know what to say. The guy's the Pope. They elected him the Pope. Popes, by the way, are supposed to be infallible, according to Catholic philosophy. They're the direct representative of God on earth. Whatever he says, that's it. That's the final word. And they're shocked. They don't know what to do with him. In the past, what's happened when popes have done something crazy, they kill him right away. And then put a new guy in. It's happened several times in Catholic history when the Pope goes crazy. Anyway, it's just like, you know, maybe some big ISKCON guru says, you know, well, actually Krishna is just a fairy tale. It's not real. You know, it's something equal to that. Okay, so then it says, in this way, by this constant hearing and engaging in this hearing about Krishna, in this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. Yeah, the fire of knowledge is lit up, and then all his karma is burnt away, and he becomes very purified. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. The more you hear, the more you become convinced, I should be doing so many things that I'm not doing today, because it's my duty toward Krishna and Prabhupada. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, rajas and tamas. So this is what puts people in trouble in the material world. It's rajas and tamas, passion and ignorance. This is why people get in trouble. They have legal problems, they have health problems, they have mental problems, because of this rajas and tamas. And here is giving a simple way to overcome that. It's just regular hearing of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lusts and avarice are diminished. So these are the two big enemies, lust, anger, and greed. Right? In fact, Bhagavad Gita says that Trivida Narakas Yesu, in the 16th chapter, that the three doors to hell, the hell that the Pope said doesn't exist, right? Are lust, anger, and greed. Here we have a conjunction here with Catholic philosophy, right? Except the Pope just reversed it, right? Trividam narakasyedam dwaram nasanam atmanaha kamakrodas tata lobas tasmat etat trayam tyajet. Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter 21st verse. There are three gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. Well, here we have it. Hell exists. It's in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So what's the Pope saying? That there's no hell. He's nonsense. He's gone nuts. You know, he's a crazy man. You know, they should get rid of him right away. He's not only violating Catholic philosophy for the last 2,000 years, now he's violating Bhagavad Gita philosophy. Right? And why? Because he's still subject to lust, anger, and greed. That's why. That's why he's making statements like that. Therefore, he has no business being the Pope of the Catholic Church. It's very interesting. You see how philosophy, the Catholic philosophy, Prabhupada said the Catholic Church, we should study their structure, how they're structured. He said because they've been successful for 2,000 years. He didn't say study the misdeeds of the Pope and the priests. He didn't say that. He said study their structure. The structure, and a lot of their philosophy is right on. The beginning of demoniac life is described herein. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. A sane man who does not want to glide down to the species of demoniac life must try to give up these three enemies, which can kill the self to such an extent that there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. So here we can see how important this verse is, and the solution to it is very simple. Constant hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam, messages of Krishna, right? And you hear directly from Krishna by hearing Bhagavad Gita, and you hear about Krishna by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures. Yeah.
What is hell? It's a different place, or the way we are living here right now is also hell?
Yes.
What is it?
Both. Yes. The way we're living, yeah. I mean, you want to see hell? You come with me when we feed homeless people. You'll see hell. Unbelievable suffering. And yet, they're still attached to sense gratification. They still have low-class behavior. They don't want to make any effort to get out of it. That's hell. They're dirty. They don't bathe. They're not sure how they're going to eat. They're still attached to sense gratification. One time I was in a metro, a subway in France. We were coming home from Sankirtan. I saw one of the most horrible things I've ever seen in my life. This one very dirty, drunk, homeless man had grabbed the legs of this very dirty, drunk, homeless lady, right? And, you know, he just had one of her legs, and he grabbed it with both hands and wouldn't let go. And she was screaming at the top of her lungs. And we looked at that. I mean, we were confused. what's going on? How can they get? And they live in the subway, which is a very dirty place already, right? And then they get kicked out late at night when they close the subway in France, in Paris, and then they're out on the streets. And they were completely drunk. It was like a hopeless situation, right? And we looked at it, and there was nothing we could do for them, Even if we left some prasadam, which we didn't have because we had already distributed everything. We couldn't give them a book; they probably wouldn't read it. They might use it for toilet paper or something, So it was hopeless. But that's hell. Hell on earth. And it's here also. You can see it. You can see it with your own eyes every day. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. So, how is material lust and avarice increased? By increasing the mode of passion. And eventually, it becomes the mode of ignorance. And then lust, anger, and greed evolve. So the way to reverse that is regular hearing Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, in the association of rightfully situated devotees, not in the association of loose devotees who listen to Bhagavatam and then smoke ganja, which is legal now in Washington State. Yeah, there are devotees like that. I know devotees like that. Even if you go to Radha Kund, Radha Kund is the holiest place in the universe, where Radha and Krishna had very intimate pastimes, right? It's in Vrindavan area. The whole group of devotees that live there, they live like Babajis. They're devotees, Western devotees, right? They live like Babajis, and they smoke marijuana all day. It's a good life, right? There's so many crazy people in this world. It's unbelievable. And it's because of the modes of passion and ignorance. And because of that, it increases lust, anger, and greed. That's why there's so many greedy people in this world. They're just all the time they're living in lust and they're living in passion or rajas and ignorance, tamas. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of a samsayam samagram, understanding of the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead. Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 2nd chapter, 17th to 21st verse. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. So, our lesson today is we're going to study a purport in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where Prabhupada gives even more information about these verses, these essential verses that explain the process of Krishna consciousness. So we're going to switch now to Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 13th chapter, 53rd verse. Kala swabhava samskara, kama karma, gunadibhi, swamahi dvasta mahi bir, murti madbir upasita. Then Lord Brahma saw that Kala, the time factor, and swabhava, one's own nature by association, samskara, reformation, kama, desire, karma, fruit of activity, and the gunas, the three modes of material nature, their own independence being completely subordinate to the potency of the Lord, had all taken forms and were also worshipping those Vishnu Murtis. So this is a scene when Brahma comes back after stealing the calves and cows and cowherd boys. He comes back in 1 second of his time, which equals 1 year of our time. And to his utter shock and bewilderment, he sees the cows, the same cows that he just took away and hid far away, are there. The same cows, the calves, and the cowherd boys. He thought he was going to come back and find little Krishna all bewildered and crying, oh, what happened to everybody? No, they're still there. And not only they're still there, as he keeps looking at them, they start transforming into forms of Vishnu with 4 arms. And then he sees that all the living entities, the grass, the trees, the butterflies, the bees, they're transformed into devotees who are glorifying and worshiping Lord Vishnu. And there are millions and millions of Vishnus, right? Not just a few, because there were so many cowherd boys and calves, you know. I mean, Nanda Maharaj had 900,000 cows. So he becomes bewildered, and not only they turn into Lord, Vishnu forms, and then all the living entities turn into devotees, and they're all nicely dressed, and they're all chanting glorious prayers, worshiping the Lord. He begins to see other things also that Krishna is manifesting. The 24 elements of material creation. And the 6 opulences. And each of these things is personal. It's not that they're objects. They are present as persons. And then 9 mystic powers. And then Aja, mystical appearances that are incredible, that are unbelievable, such as Krishna being in the heart of every living entity, such as Krishna having so many expansions as Mahavishnu, such as as the Vishnu, as a 4-armed Vishnu, such as the personification of all objects and living entities in the universe, and on and on and on. He's seeing all this thing multiplying infinitely. And then he sees the time factor, and then one's own nature by association, and then sanskara, reformation, and kama, desire, and karma, fruit of activity, and the gunas, the 3 modes of material nature, and their own independence being completely subordinate to the potency of Lord Krishna. And they had all taken forms and were also worshipping those Vishnu Murtis. This is an incredible thing. And Brahma is he's not only seeing the cows, the calves, and the cowherd boys. He's seeing them transform into infinite number of Vishnu forms, and all living entities transforming into devotees and worshipping the Vishnu forms. And then he's seeing the 24 elements of material creation. He's seeing the 9 different mystical powers. And he's seeing the 6 opulences, the Sad Aishwarya. And on, he's seeing all these things. And it just keeps multiplying more. And now he's seeing the time factor. And not only the time factor, it's a person. It's not just an it. Like you look at the watch, you look at the clock, it's an it, right? It's not a person. Right? No, they're becoming persons right in front of his eyes. And he's seeing one's own nature by association. We develop a higher or lower swabhava by association, right? If you associate with meat, you become a meathead. If you associate with prasadam, you become a prasadam devotee. So everything depends on association. And it's personal. Then he sees samskara. You have Garbhodana samskara and Adyeshti samskara, and this samskara, that samskara. They're actually persons. And what do? They're for reforming the character of a person. Right? And then he sees kama as or desire as a person, and karma, fruit of activity, as a person, and the gunas, the three modes, as persons. And they're all subordinate to Lord Krishna. And they all have taken forms and are worshipping those Vishnu Murtis. So, this proves, now Brahma sees clearly, no one is independent of Krishna. Although, so many philosophers have tried to say that even if there is a God, he's just a neutral observer. We're actually independent. This is called modern materialistic existentialism, as propounded by Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus and other total nonsense people, but they're very famous. Famous because they're nonsense, right? And they say even if there is a guy, he's just a neutral observer. You know, we're independent. We have to figure things out for ourselves with science and logic. Yeah. Materialistic existentialism? No one is independent of Krishna. Yeah. Well, this is the verse. Ekale Ishwara Krishna ara sababrita yare yaiche nachaya setai chekare nitra nritya. This is in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it says, only Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone else is his servant. One should understand, therefore, that no one is independent, for everything is part and parcel of Krishna. Mamai Vamsa Jiva Bhuta Jiva Loka Sanatana. We're all part and parcel of Krishna. Everyone, including Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma. You can see this is pastime of stealing the calves and the cows proves that Brahma is subordinate to Krishna. And then the pastime of Mohini Murti proves that Lord Shiva is subordinate and Mother Kali or Durga is subordinate to Lord Krishna. All these pastimes are proof that they're subordinate. They're not even close to being equal to Krishna. Although they're extremely powerful, they're more powerful than anyone else in the universe, those two. But still, they're nothing. One time Brahma went to Dwarka to see Krishna. When he knocked on the door, the guards came and said, yes, what do you want? He said, I want to see Krishna. He said, who are you? He said, what do you mean, who am I? I'm Brahma. They said, which Brahma? He said, what? What do you mean, which Brahma? I'm the four-headed Brahma. I'm the father of the Kumaras. What do you mean, which Brahma? They said, well, wait a minute, you know. And then they came back and said, Krishna is asking, which Brahma are you? What does that mean? Which? You mean there's other Brahmas? So when he goes to see Krishna, he says to Krishna, what's this, which Brahma? Why'd they ask me that dumb question? And Krishna smiled. And he invited all the other Brahmas to come. An infinite number of Brahmas came in. And all bowed down. And they had, this Brahma only has 4 heads because there are more complicated universes. One Brahma came in with 1 million heads. And they were all giving their dandavats to Krishna, and they had their metal crowns on, and as they touched the floor with their crowns, it made a huge noise of metal touching the ground. And Brahma was, he was stunned. And, his ego went from, way up here to way down low, like really low. So then he realized that he's an insignificant living entity. Compared to the other Brahmas, how about compared to Krishna now? So,
one thing is clear, everything comes from Krishna.
yes,
Nothing is
independent.
independent of Krishna. So how to understand
Free will, right? Right. Well, our free will is limited free will. It's not, we think unlimited free will. No, we have limited free will. We're limited to 2 choices.
follow Krishna, follow Maya?
Right. No, it's not follow Krishna, it's either follow Krishna or don't follow Krishna. If we don't follow Krishna, immediately we're in Maya. So you can have, in one day, you can be following Krishna, let's say from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock. And then from 7 to 9 you can be so-so following Krishna, right? And then from 9:01 to 5:30 you can be not following Krishna. And then maybe later on, again, so-so following Krishna. And then when you fall asleep, you're not following Krishna at all. You're dreaming about all kinds of nonsense, right? And then you wake up and you suddenly remember, oh, I'm a devotee, you know, so then you're following Krishna a little bit, right? You see, it's not that, you know, oh, now I'm initiated, I'm going to be following Krishna forever. No. No, it's only the beginning of following Krishna. Initiation is only the beginning. It's the right thing to do, but it's only the beginning. Now, let's see whose mind is always thinking about Krishna, right? So it's not a simple thing. So every day we're deciding, every second, should I or should I not follow Krishna? Every minute, every second of the day we have to face that decision, especially after you get initiated. Before you're initiated, it's not a big thing, you know. Should I follow? Well, I'll follow when I feel like it, you know. But once you're initiated, every second you're faced with that decision. Should I follow or should I not follow? Right? And that is the limit of our free will. We can't, you know, I can't say, oh, today the sun is not coming up, I'm going to will. You know, you have these New Age gurus and New Age people, they study ordering the universe. You ever hear this? Yes. They sit down and do some meditation ordering the universe, right? And someone said, it worked, I got my lemon meringue pie, like I ordered the universe, give me lemon meringue pie, and my friend brought me a gift of lemon meringue pie. It worked. It's all silly nonsense, you see. People are so silly, frivolous, you know. They think they ordered the universe and they got their pie, right? All nonsense. One should understand that no one is independent, for everything is part and parcel of Krishna and is acting and moving by the supreme desire of Krishna. This understanding, this consciousness is Krishna consciousness. In other words, we are given the body, we're given the senses, we're given the mind, we have legs, we have hands, we have feet, we have eyes, nose, ears, and all this. This is the equipment given to us. And Krishna is making it work for us. And then we're making this decision, should I or should I not follow Krishna now with this equipment?
Okay, she has space.
Little bit time.
There's no space near the mic.
Hey, you're taking all the
No.
Yeah?
This is good. This is good.
This is good.
It was in the.
Now it's in the
Maybe?
middle. Now it's in the middle.
First Jai
There.
Nilamanadana. After that Kesavajandana, then Hare Krishna.
Okay. That's a higher last one.
Start with Jai Radha Nilam.
Jaya Radha Nilamada Radha Radha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Nitai Harivilas.
Yeah.
It goes with them.
No. After Krishna's after Ram is Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Guru Nitai Gaura Hari Bol and then Hare Krishna and then it starts the next one.
So we're going to start with
so
that.
1, 2, 3.
2 point.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. And then we start.
Yashomati Nandana. Jaya Radha Nilamada Radha Nilamada Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Koranita Jaya Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Then Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Yashomati Nandana Brajavara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana. Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Gopi Paranadana Madana Manohara Kaliya Damana Vidana. Amala Harina Amiya Vilasa Vipina Purandana Navina Nagara Bora Bamsi Vadana Suvasa Vajajana Palana Surkuranasana Nanda Godana Rakovala.
She's not giving space.
Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sun Sundarananda Gopala. Sundarananda Gopala. Yamuna Tata Chara Gopi Basanahara. Rasarasika Kripa Moya. Shri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natabara. Bhakti Vinoda Shaya. Hare Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Go back to the first Hare Krishna tune. I don't know. You sing it. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Okay. One should understand that no one is independent, for everything is part and parcel of Krishna and is acting and moving by the supreme desire of Krishna. This understanding, this consciousness is Krishna consciousness. So, by the desire of Krishna, he created the material world to give us a chance to go back to Godhead. There's another thing the Pope said that was complete nonsense. He said that some souls just disappear. They stop existing. Again, he violated 2,000 years of Catholic philosophy by saying that some souls just stop existing. They die. They're destroyed. Again, he's violating Catholic philosophy. He's violating Krishna consciousness, Bhagavad Gita philosophy, where it says that the soul, Najayate Mriyate Vakadachan, was never born and never dies. It's always existing as part and parcel of Krishna. So you see, not only he violated Catholic philosophy, he's violating Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, they should get rid of him. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, they have a problem with that, right? But the Catholic Church believes the soul is eternal. Now here comes the present Pope. He says some souls die; they don't exist anymore. So you see, they have to get rid of him. He's a crazy guy. And why they ever elected him Pope, who knows? But now they're figuring it out on their own. That this guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Yes. Huh? Pope of the Catholic Church. Pope means he's the head of the whole church. The Catholics have over 1 billion people in their church. We have maybe a few hundred people in our temple. He's got 1 billion people in his church. So, Krishna is controlling everything. Just like the state of Washington and the federal government are controlling everything here in Washington state, right? So, if you're an illegal immigrant, the federal government sends ICE, the Homeland Security agents, and they round up illegal immigrants in Washington state and in Oregon and all these other states because they have authority to do that. So if you just walk across the border without any visa or permit and you think you can live in the United States, eventually they'll catch up to you and they'll throw you out. Then there's this one lady, there's a black lady in Texas. She, an illegal immigrant, she voted for Hillary Clinton in the election 2016. They just sentenced her to jail for illegally voting. You see? So, like the government, Krishna is controlling everything. But yet, if you follow the rules, like if you're a legal immigrant and you become a citizen and you vote, then no one can stop you. You're following the rules. But when you break the rules, either federal government or the state government or the city government will crack down on you. And in the same way, if we follow the rules, we get more independence. In other words, you can make more intelligent choices in your life. But if we break the rules, then our freedom is limited until it's eradicated completely. When you go to Naraka, or in the United States when you go to jail, your freedom is severely curtailed because you're breaking the rules. Therefore, it's easier to follow the rules than to break the rules. Let's repeat this. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Repeat. It's easier to follow the rules. You didn't say it. Huh? Than to break the rules. Okay, let's say it one more time. It's easier to follow the rules than to break the rules. Wow, Sanskriti didn't say it. Let's hear you say it, Sanskriti. Yeah. One time a person said it's easier to break the rules than to follow the rules. Huh? Yeah. It's not true. It's easier to follow the rules than to break the rules. And when you do, you get more freedom. Right? Okay, so anyone who thinks yes to Narayanam Devam, Brahma Rudraji Daivatai, Samat Venaiva Vikseta, Sapasandi Bhavet Dhruvam. Anyone, any person who considers the demigods, like Brahma or Shiva, to be on an equal level with Narayana, must certainly be considered an offender. No one can compare to Narayana or Krishna. Krishna is Narayana, and Narayana is also Krishna, for Krishna is the original Narayana. Brahma himself spoke to Krishna, Narayanas tvam nahi sarvadehinam. You are also Narayana. Indeed, you are the original Narayana. So not only Brahma makes this statement about Krishna being the original Narayana, meaning the source of Narayana, but also, who else made that statement? Huh? It was Bhisma Pitamaha. He says in the first canto, 9th chapter, Krishna is the original Narayana. He's telling Yudhisthira that in his Raja Dharma explanation to Yudhisthira. The first thing he teaches him in Raja Dharma, the duties of the king, is you have to understand there's one thing. This man standing here, this Krishna, you think he's a member of your family, but actually he's the original Narayana. Why did he say that? Because he's worshiping Narayana as God. And he's an expert on Narayana, right? That's his God. That's his worshipful Ishta Deva. And he's saying that actually Krishna is the origin of Narayana. He's the original Narayana. Now, how many Narayanas are there? Huh? Yeah, unlimited numbers. He's present on every Vaikuntha planet. There are innumerable Vaikuntha planets. And all the Vishnu forms are actually Narayana forms, but they're in the material world. So then you can add that on also. You have an infinite number of Narayanas. Krishna is the original one. Then Brahma sees Kala. He sees the time factor as a person. And Kala has many assistants. He not only sees Kala, he sees all the assistants of Kala. They're all persons, such as Swabhava, Samskara, Kama, Karma, and Guna. So, what is Swabhava? Swabhava means one's own nature. One's own nature, the who you are, how you do things, what you believe, how you eat, how you dress, how you talk, what is your philosophy, what is your worldview. Well, one develops the Swabhava by associating with the material qualities. Karanam gunasangasya sadasad yoni janmasu. Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 22nd verse. Let's look that up. One can be sat or asat swabhava, eternal or illusory, temporary nature of swabhava. So 13th chapter, 22nd verse. And it says, Purusha pakritisto hi bhunkte pakriti jan gunai karanam gunasangasya sadasadyoni janmasu. The living entity in the material nature thus follows the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with that material nature. Thus he meets with good and evil among various species. So, what does this mean? Let's say you're going to high school, and in your high school there's some boys that have a Mohegan haircut. You know what a Mohegan haircut is? No. They shave their head on both sides here, and they leave this one big thing in the middle of the hair. It's called a Mohegan. The American Indians, the Mohegans, used to use that type of hair style to identify their tribe. So, and he colored his Mohegan red, and he comes to high school every day. And then, because he did it, some other kids thought it was cool, so they did it too. But they didn't just color it red; they colored it tricolor, you know, red, yellow, blue. And another kid colored it green, and another kid colored it purple. So now you have, like, you know, 5, 6 kids in the school, in the high school, that have Mohegans, right? And you think, hey, man, that's cool, you know, and all the girls are talking to them all the time, much more than they talk to me. Maybe I should get a Mohegan too, you know. So you start associating with the Mohegans, and they say, oh, yeah, it's cool, man. You know, this is one barber, he gives a real close shave, you know, and then he can color it any color you want. Really? So, and you think, I'm going to get a Mohegan, and I can hang out with them, and the girls will look at me also. So this is called Karanam Gunasangasya Sadasat Yoni Janmasu. That means that you are enjoying the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And by the way, that's not good. It's bad, because they're conditioning us, right? And it's due to associating with people and certain environments, and it influences the way you think and you look and you talk and you walk and so forth. And because of that, you meet either, or you encounter either good or evil in your life. So now the Mohegans, they form a gang now, because there's like 10 of you now, right? You joined the gang. And one day they said, oh, what we're going to do, my dad has an AK-15, and I'll bring it, and I'll steal it from him, and we'll all shoot and kill some of the other kids in school. And everyone said, yeah, we'll do that, you know, and then we'll commit suicide. And so now the Mohegans come one day, and during lunchtime they pull out a gun in the lunchroom, and they start shooting, and they share the gun, and everyone gets a chance to kill some other kids. And then they kill each other, and they all die. Well, how did that happen? Happened because of bad association. And when there's bad association, you make bad decisions in your life. And then you meet evil in your life. You experience evil in your life, and you end up dead. Right? That's what happens by hanging out with the Mohegans. Just call them Mo for short. It's like one time this guy, I asked him, what's your name? He said, Mo. I said, where'd you get that name from? He said, oh, I like that name. I said, is it, you know, is that your name, or is it like a shortened form of your name? He said, yeah, my name is Mohammed, but just call me Mo. So, yes. There are Mohegans. You never saw a guy with both sides of his head completely shaved, and then this one big. You never saw anyone? Have you seen anyone like that, Krishna? Yeah. In your school. I'm not making it up. Yeah. Okay. You can imagine what their parents look like. They look like that. What did their parents look like? You know, the parents probably smoking marijuana every day. Let their kid get a Mohegan haircut. Yeah.
You mentioned Brahma was seen
Yes. Kama. Kama is a person, yeah. Prabhu, everything is person. Everything. The tree. Kama, time. These are all persons. The Upanishads, they're persons. They're not just books, they're persons. Everything is personal. The carpet, there's actually persons in this carpet. It's Paramatma is in every atom of the carpet. You don't see it. Just like you don't see Paramatma in your heart, but it's there. Paramatma is in every cell of your body. Nothing is impersonal. Impersonalism is only perceived due to imperfect vision. It's like you see an airplane take off, and it's going up, and it's a cloudy day like this. All of a sudden it disappears right in front of your eyes. Did it disappear? What happened to it? Yeah. Yeah, our limited, imperfect senses. Yeah.
With lust, anger, and greed is also person.
Yeah.
So should we understand that lust is a person and he's controlling our all other entities' lust? Does that mean?
Yeah, just like, is Maya a person? Maya means illusion. Right? Is it a person? Yeah, it's a person. Now, is there a person behind this electric light? Yeah, the CEO of Puget Power. Right? And then behind him is Surya Deva. And then behind him is Krishna, source of the Brahma Jyoti. When you start looking carefully, you'll see there's a person behind everything. Is there anybody behind fake news? Yes. CNN, yeah. You know, Zucker. You have Zuckerberg for Facebook, and you have Zucker for CNN. The two Zuckers. Yeah. So we see that the person's everywhere and everything. But if you don't see the person, it's because you have imperfect senses. Yes. Yeah. Of course. Limited free will. Why? Do you know why? Why does a dog not have free will and you have free will? Yeah, because if there's no free will, let's say your wife was a slave. You tie her up every day, and she comes to the temple with hands tied, eyes blindfolded, and she can't do anything unless you tell her, right? So, is that a sign of love? No. Love is when you're free to make a choice. You love someone, you don't love them, right? So Krishna gives us free will, limited free will, so that we can either love him or not love him. It's not love having a slave, right? In fact, they just caught this one guy. His name is Mr. Ranier. He's a guru and he has a cult. He's got a lot of followers. And what he does is he considers all women slaves. And just like, you know, they brand cows, you know, and cattle. You know, the rancher will put his brand. He brands them, the women. You know, it burns his initials into their skin. Now they caught this guy because people are complaining about him. And he became rich by enslaving mainly women in the United States. You know, you don't have to make things up. The reality is more unbelievable than fantasy. And people go for these things. They want to be slaves sometimes, you know, until they find out it's not, you know, it's the wrong end of the deal. Then they complain about it. Okay, so Sat and Asat Swabhava, one's higher or lower nature, is formed by association with different qualities, namely Sattva Guna, Raja Guna, and Tama Guna. we should gradually come to the sattva guna so that we may avoid the two lower gunas. This can be done if we regularly discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. Does it say regularly discuss Mickey Mouse? Advait? What happens if you regularly discuss Mickey Mouse? No, you become a Mohegan in your next life. You weren't here earlier, and someone will have to explain it to you. So you come late, and when you come in, you were not listening. Right away you're talking. So let's play 12 feet so that you have a better chance to listen. Yeah, good. Yes. Yes. How come there's only 400,000 species of humans and there's millions and millions of other species, animals, plants? Because they were more sinful. And by the time you get to the human form of life, after going through all the others, you have basically the only possibility of getting out of the cycle of birth and death. But see, you don't become a human being right away. I mean, you start by being a Brahma, and then you go all the way down, and then you have to come back up again to the human form, where you get a chance to get out. So it's a very special thing to have the human form. But amongst the 400,000 different human forms, most are uncivilized. There's only a few of the humans that are actually civilized. How do you count civilized from uncivilized? Anybody know? Yes? Sanskrit. No. No. I mean, it helps to believe in God, but, you know, what if your God is Hitler? Would you be a human being then? No. Yes? Well, no. But it's good to have a conscience. Not conscious, but conscience, right? Conscience is what? It's that inner voice that says, don't do this, it's not right. Huh? Yeah.
Pursuing what is the purpose of life?
Yeah, in other words, the difference between a human being and an animal is a human being follows varnashram dharma. They follow the principles of spiritual life. And they're being elevated gradually from tamas to rajas to sattva guna. Right? So that's you count human beings from the point that they start following. Okay, let's listen a little bit, dear. Let's listen a little bit. You come over here. Let's play 12 feet here. Yeah, very good. So as soon as you agree to follow varnashram dharma, and do we follow varnashram dharma? No, we follow daiva varnashram. There's a difference. What's the difference between varnashram dharma and daiva varnashram? Varnashram, yes. Well, you're right. Daiva varnashram means God-centered varnashram, right? Where we do everything for the pleasure of Krishna and Guru and Gurus, right? The varnashram system, Lord Vishnu is supposed to be in the center of that, but sometimes it's followed for sense gratification rather than for spiritual elevation. And anyway, even if you follow it strictly, you would not be able to follow it strictly in this age. It's too complicated. So none of us would be able to actually follow all the rules of varnashram dharma. They're very, very strict and very complicated. Daiva varnashram means what we're doing in a temple. You come to the temple, everything is focused around service to Radha and Krishna, right? So somebody can chant, somebody can dance, somebody can cook, somebody can clean, right? So everyone gets a chance, and it's not too complicated. In other words, if you touch your hair, in Varnashram Dharma, if you touch your hair, you have to take a bath. Not imagine if you touch other parts of your body, right? But just touching your hair is enough that you have to take a bath. They're very, very strict rules. So it would not be possible to follow Varnashram Dharma. You want to close those lights? In this age. But Daiva Varnashram, God-centered Varnashram, we can follow. Especially if you worship Gaur Nitai, because Gaur Nitai is very merciful. And you chant Hare Krishna, you cannot commit an offense against the holy name. There are offenses against the holy name, but the holy name is never affected by any offense that we commit. It only affects us. It's just like if you swing an axe in the wrong way, you can hit yourself. If you swing in the right way, you can hit what you're trying to aim at. But it's possible to swing an axe in such a way that you injure yourself, right? So we cannot really offend the holy name. But if you commit an offense against the holy name, it affects us, right? So the holy name is completely merciful. Even if you say it derisively, still it has a purifying effect on you. But that effect, the benefit, will be held back until you stop offending. But the benefit is there. Okay. So, therefore, we should gradually come to the sattva guna so that we may avoid the two lower gunas. This can be done if we regularly discuss Srimad Bhagavatam and hear about Krishna's activities. Nastaprayesu abhadresu nityam bhagavata sevaya. This nityam bhagavata sevaya, there's two types of bhagavats. There's the book bhagavat and the person bhagavat. And we should always be engaged in the eternal service, nitya seva, of bhagavat. Either book bhagavat, meaning Srimad Bhagavatam Bhagavad Gita, or Pranay, listen please, or the person bhagavat, which is a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. So most people are performing seva, but not for Bhagavat. They're performing seva for Disneyland, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Dumbo, politicians, movie stars, and so forth. So therefore that type of seva is not beneficial. But Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya is extremely beneficial, and it will raise a person to the mode of goodness. All the activities of Krishna described in Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning even with the pastimes concerning Putana, are transcendental. Yeah, the way Krishna kills Putana is transcendental. Therefore, by hearing and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, the Rajo Guna and Tama Guna are subdued, so that only Sattva Guna remains. Then Raja Guna and Tama Guna cannot do us any harm. So we get in trouble and we have problems when we're associating with passion and ignorance. Like, for example, I'll give you an example of ignorance. Someone says, "Hey, Pranay, it's really cool to smoke marijuana." Well, that's called tamas, ignorance. And even if 99 kids in your school say it's cool to do, and if you don't do it, you're not one of us, would you listen? No, you sure? That's a lot of kids. You might think, wait a minute, 99 of them are smoking marijuana. Maybe there's something wrong with me. I'm the only one not smoking. Is that true? Huh? You almost said yes. No, okay. No, because why is it not true? Because there are 4 regulative principles. What's one of the regulative principles? No intoxication. So, now, is that a deterrent? I mean, is that a real deterrent? Let's say 99 of your friends smoke marijuana, and they're all trying to convince you to smoke marijuana. Is this regulative principle not to smoke marijuana or not to take any intoxication a real deterrent in your life? Deterrent means something that will stop you from doing it. Okay. Why? I mean, it should be a deterrent. It should, isn't it? A deterrent means it stops you from doing it. Yeah, so yes, right? So we have to think, are these principles actually going to stop us when everybody else is doing it and we're the only one not doing it? And everyone says, it's so cool, it's so wonderful, you know, you know, it makes you feel great and you'll be one of us. And you're the one person saying, no, I'm not going to do it. Let me tell you the truth. Many people get bewildered and they just give up and they say, well, I'm going to do it too because otherwise I won't be part of this group. Everyone will make fun of me. Oh, you're weird. You don't eat meat and you don't smoke marijuana. You're weird. Or, oh, you're not a vegan. Ooh, you are that evil person. You drink milk. Ooh, we're not going to talk to you anymore. Out of vegans, they're like fanatics now, you know.
And Prabhu, they say that, okay, you are in material world and they say, okay, you will improve your health, you will become rich, see all people are successful, they are doing all these things, why you are not doing it?
And also, well, you mean eating meat or being a vegan?
Anything.
Yeah, anything. So what do you say to the vegans? Now, a lot of young kids, you know, they learn veganism, you know, it's like the thing to do, the cool thing to do. Do you have anything you could say to them that would convince them that why you're not a vegan and that you're not really causing any harm to cows? Yes, Krishna. Is that the answer?
No, it's just that this thing that the cool kids apparently, they'll do all these things like smoking marijuana, but when they grow up, they'll be the ones who's working like Fred Meyer while you'll be owning a company.
Okay, you didn't answer the question, but I mean, what you said is okay, but it didn't answer the question. The question was, what do you tell the vegans? Vegans are very militant now, you know. A lot of young kids are becoming vegans. They don't drink milk, and you know, and they say, "Is there dairy in that?" You say, "Yes." Oh, I don't want that, you know. I don't want to be cruel to animals, you know. You're supporting the slaughterhouses and the cruelty to animals.
You're taking milk out of a cow.
Well, the animals are being industrially exploited. Okay, yes, what would you say? You would say No, you said You just said it again.
What I would say is that the animals, they produce milk so that we can consume it, partly.
Wrong. Wrong. They will defeat you. Yes, Pranay.
So when the cows make milk, first you feed them to the calves, and then you feed them?
Wrong. Okay. All right, Pooja, what do you say?
So even if not vegan, if you don't take medicine but surviving
Wrong. Yes, Sanskriti.
So you see the factories that they exploit the animals, but like in the farm that like the Goloka farm that you have, the cows are not exploited. The milk is taken naturally.
Well, you're getting real close to the answer, but that's not a good answer, though. It's not exactly, not completely right. It's partially right. You're on the right track. Yes. Yes, that's the answer. Ahimsa. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, our cows are protected. We're not going to send them to the slaughterhouse. And we're not industrially exploiting them, milking them 3-4 times a day and things like that. And we're not, giving them artificial supplements or whatever. We're treating them like family members. So we have ahimsa milk. That's the answer. And then you're going to go, they won't be able to say, they'll only be able to say when you say that. But you shouldn't say right? Okay. Don't say yeah. You say yes. Yes. Okay. Jai Shri Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai. Namo So Prabhupada now says, well, if we are regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, then Raja Guna and Tamaguna are subdued so that only Sattva Guna remains. Then Raja Guna and Tamaguna cannot do us any harm. Varnashram Dharma, therefore, is essential, for it can bring people to Sattva Guna, Tadarajas Tamo Bhavu, Kamalobha, Dayascha. Yes.
Wouldn't we rather want them to be vegan than non-vegetarian?
Okay, let's say it's less harmful to be a vegan than a non-vegetarian. But vegans are fanatical. They're fanatical. And they're against milk. Prabhupada was not against milk, was he? Is Krishna against milk? Yeah, so, and the idea is that we want to have our own farms and our own cows that we treat like family members and protect them. And then they give us wonderful milk that we can drink. It's not that, all milk is bad. No, I mean, the real fanatical vegans, their argument is, well, the milk is not meant for human beings. It's meant for the calf. And you're cruel. You're separating the calf from the mother. Well, we don't do that either at the farm. We let the calves drink some of the milk, right? Not all of it, some of it. Otherwise, the mother cow doesn't like to give the milk. The cows can hold their milk back if they're feeling stressed. So when the baby comes and drinks a little bit, the mother relaxes and then gives more. So there's a whole science of how to take care of cows humanely, and protect them. Yeah.
For human beings. So
that's what they say.
Yeah. So how do we answer that question?
Krishna was a cowherd boy. The whole culture in Vrindavan was based on milk technology. Right? They were making so many sweets and nice preparations with milk. So how can you say it's not meant for us? God Himself demonstrated that milk is meant for human beings, but we don't deny the calf, the mother's milk either. Yeah.
Some of the milk, does that mean the farm is giving how much ever milk the calf wants, or just a little?
No, okay. Up to 4 months, we let the calves drink as much milk as they want from their mother. After 4 months, they're weaned off of milk into grass. And maybe a few times, for another 4 months, we'll let the calf drink a little bit of milk from the mother. And then after that time, they don't have to drink any milk. They don't even want to. They just want to eat grass. So there are 2 periods. The first 4 months, they can drink as much milk as they want. And they grow very fast when they do that. And then the next 3-4 months, we let them drink a little bit. When we begin to milk them, before we milk the mother, we let the calf come and drink a little bit of milk. And then we tie the calf next to the mother so the mother can lick the calf while she's being milked. And it relaxes the cows, the mother cows. Okay? So now Prabhupada says, Varnashram Dharma, therefore, is essential, for it can bring people to sattva guna, tadarajas tamo bhava, kamalobadayaschaye. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.19. Tamaguna and Rajaguna increase lust and greed, which implicate a living entity in such a way that he must exist in this material world in many, many forms. In other words, stay in the cycle of birth and death. So now we have some science. This is scientific. If you want to create peace in the world, let's say you're president of the United States and you want to bring about peace in the world between the Palestinians and the Israelis, between the Pakistanis and the Indians, between the gun owners and the no gun people, right? You want to bring peace, right? How would you do it after hearing what I just read? What's the secret? How to create peace in the world? That even the United Nations doesn't understand. Putin doesn't understand. Trump doesn't know. Hogg doesn't understand. You know who Hogg is? He knows who it is. Yeah. You don't know who Hogg is, but he knows who Hogg is. I know who Hogg is. Yeah. Okay, so how would you bring about peace? If you're a president of the United States, how would you bring about it? Yes, Advait.
I think how would you bring peace around the world is that the President of the United States should ask everybody to follow the Hare Krishna, to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and to go to the temple and focus on the deities.
Yeah, but then no one's going to do it if you say he should do like that.
It's recommended.
But it's correct what you said. But the way you said it, no one's going to do it. They'll say, I don't know, why should I go to I go to church, you know. I go to Mary Queen of Peace. Why should I come to your temple? You guys are Hindus, you know. I'm a Christian. Right? Yes.
So
you have to give some scientific basis. Scientific basis. There's no specific religion related to it. It's just fact. Real science, not junk science, not Stephen Hawking's giant science, theoretical nonsense. Real fact. Okay, let's just deal with facts. Yeah.
So I think that you said about facts, right?
Did you say I stink or I think?
I think.
Oh, okay.
So what I think when you said about fact is that if I was the United States president, then I would make it so that like all the religions know that God is a supreme, I guess.
Yeah, well, the last thing you said reveals that your answer is wrong. You said, I guess. So it's not a fact. You're just guessing. That's called speculation. No, give me some scientific fact or facts. You know, you're not listening carefully. I just read it. Tamaguna and Rajaguna increase lust and greed, which implicate a living entity in such a way that he must exist in this material world in many, many different forms. That is very dangerous. Okay, Pranay, second chance. Go ahead.
Okay. I think that after you read it again. What?
Did you say I think or I stink?
I think.
Okay, go ahead.
That if the United States president should remove all sources of greed.
Of what? Sources of?
Greed or lust.
You're getting close, but it's not, you know, it's not clear. It's not scientific. Science is based with fundamental principles that are irrevocably true. Okay, Krishna, give it a try.
I don't know.
Oh, okay, you don't know, then don't even try then.
What Bunny was saying that we should remove all the gadgets, or shouldn't we like train our minds to like not be attached to those gadgets?
No, this is not science. You're talking nonsense now. What's scientific fact? Okay, yes, go ahead.
So greed and lust require people to exist in this material world in multiple forms. So if we recommend everyone to stay away from the sources of greed and lust,
How do you do that?
ask them to not, like...
Well, I mean, you're right on, very close to answering it completely. First you mentioned something that is factual. There are what are the three modes of material nature that control everything in the material world? Yeah, sattva guna, raja guna, and tamaguna. And of those three, the two, raja guna and tamaguna, are extremely destructive and detrimental for people. So this has nothing to do with religion now. This is philosophy and fact. So as long as the people are addicted to Rajaguna and Tamaguna under their influence, you'll never have peace. There'll always be fighting. There'll always be envy and greed and lust and anger. Right? Now, how do you overcome lust and greed and elevate people up to Sattva Guna, where there's not going to be so much fighting anymore? The people are much more self-controlled in Sattva Guna, in the mode of goodness. How do you do that? And this is science now, right? We're dealing with scientific principles that are irrefutable. These three modes are acting everywhere in the universe, not only on the earth, right? And now we know that as long as people are influenced by Raja and Tamas, they're not going to be peaceful. They're going to be fighting all the time. They're going to be greedy. They're going to be angry. They're going to be lusty, right? So how do we control that? Yeah. How do we bring people up? Yes, Krishna.
We educate them in Krishna consciousness so they can give up all material desires.
They're not going to give up all material desires. We educate them how to regulate the senses and the mind and rise up from Tamaguna to Rajaguna to Sattva Guna. And in Sattva Guna, they develop control of the mind, control of the senses, and they regulate their material desires according to the principles of Krishna consciousness. Like if you have strong material desires, you can get married. There's nothing wrong with that. And satisfy those material desires according to the Vedas, not against the Vedas, but according to the Vedas, and get regulated in your activities to stay in the mode of goodness. From the mode of goodness, it's possible to learn and improve yourself to rise above goodness also, to transcendental goodness. So this is the secret. That as long as there's meat eating, gambling, illicit activities, and intoxication, people are going to be anchored in the modes of rajas and tamas, lust and ignorance. And therefore there'll never be peace. This is scientific now. Yes?
That means that the government has to make a laws which will follow Varna Ashram Dharma.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's the only I can think.
See, the problem is they did make a law. In 1920s, they made a law. No alcohol allowed. Right? What happened?
In USA?
Yeah. The Christians were very powerful. And they had the president and they elected the representatives and senators. They passed a law. It's called prohibition. They prohibited alcohol in the United States. But see, making a law is not enough. What happened? The gangsters, the Al Capones, everything, they started manufacturing bootleg alcohol, and they became millionaires, right? And then they realized, this is not working, so they went back to legalizing alcohol. Just like marijuana was illegal since 1930s until recently in the whole United States. And now a couple of states have made it legal. Why? Because you don't make a law and actually change people. Laws don't really change people. What changes people? What did we read today? Karanam gunasangasya sadasad yoni janmasu. You have to have good association through regular hearing of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and regulating one's activities in order to hear regularly. Then your nature will change. And associating with people who are spiritually elevated, then your nature will change from a lower swabhava to a higher swabhava, to a lower nature to a higher nature, right? And you'll be able to overcome the rajas and tamas and stay situated always in sattva guna. So just passing a law is nothing. They've passed all the right laws in the past, and they all failed because they didn't do anything to give good association to the people, right? So what did people do? They started the same thing they're doing with marijuana now. They passed a law in Washington State legalizing marijuana, meaning that, and they also gave licenses to people to grow it in Washington State. You know how many people begged me to use my land to grow marijuana? Many people came up to, and devotees. They said, we'll become millionaires overnight. I said, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. Even devotees are asking me, begging me, let's grow marijuana. You have 9 acres of land. We'll make a lot of money. I said, no way. Then they also legalized that you can grow it in your own home in Washington State. It's law. You can grow it as long as it's a certain amount. You don't go past that. I think you can have 4 plants in Washington State and grow it in your own home. See, this is what happened when they had prohibition. What did people do? They started making their own whiskey and wine. And my father, I wasn't alive then, but during the bad years, the Depression, in the 1930s, he and his friends, what they did was, especially the Italians did this, they would get a small still, alcohol distilling still, a small one, right? And they would share it amongst the families, right? So each family could make their own wine or beer, right? And that way, they were breaking the law, but they were not trying to make money doing it. They were just doing it for their own use. So then the police never really broke. It's only when you start selling it outside your home that they crack down on you. So they didn't change. They didn't do anything to change the nature of the people. They just passed a law and saying you're not allowed to do it anymore. You're not allowed to, no more alcohol allowed in public.
Basically, it comes down to the education also. You have to educate people.
Yeah, and you educate through association. That's why Prabhupada wanted these temples. It's a place where you can associate with devotees, right? Where you can hear regularly. Of course, nobody comes to the classes, but anyway, you can hear regularly Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. You can chant, you can serve, you can have prasadam. So this is Varnashram, this is Daiva Varnashram. The whole social life is around the temple. This is, instead of going to the gym, instead of going to the yoga ashram, instead of going to the movies, instead of going to the birthday party and then the New Year's Eve party, come to the temple. We have New Year's Eve in the temple. We have parties in the temple. But all based on Krishna consciousness, you see. So this is Daiva Varnashram. The whole social life is planned around the temple and in the temple. And hopefully in good association where there's regular hearing and chanting. Okay? So we'll stop right there. Homework. Let's see here. Prabhuji, you have your sheet? You have your sheet of homework? Yeah. Okay, so read. He did his homework from the previous time. So read what you wrote again. Nobody else did the homework. Did you do any homework? Advait? No. Yeah, there was. Go ahead. Well, first of all, read the question. Read what the homework was.
Explain how you are going to regulate your life for spiritual advancement in Krishna consciousness.
Okay, stop. Do you remember that now? Explain how you're going to regulate your life to make spiritual advancement in Krishna consciousness. That was the homework the last time. What? Okay. Were you there, Pranay? Were you there? You were there. Yeah. Yeah. You were there. Well, wait a minute. Let him read the homework from last time.
So, I said, first you have to regulate your daily routines. So you need to wake up on...
Your microphone went off.
And chant at least one round a day or more. And also follow the 4 regulated principles and try to listen to as many lectures as
Haribol. Okay, homework for tomorrow. 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 What does that mean? Yeah. No, but he emailed the homework this morning before he came. Yes. So you can email it. Oh, yeah, the homework is, if you were President Trump, what would you do to create peace in the world? But don't talk nonsense. Give me scientific knowledge. I don't want to hear any nonsense. Oh, everyone should come to the temple. Then there'll be peace. That's not an answer. That may be part of the answer, but it's not the answer. I want scientific knowledge. What you would do to create peace in the world. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhu. Does everyone know what the homework is? Yep. Okay. And even if you can't come, email the homework to info